Our following match was with... Hello everyone and welcome to Makeup and Wrestling, the only show here on YouTube where I do my makeup and we talk about AEW Dynamite. So let's jump into today's video. For today's makeup look, we're going to play with a couple of different things. We're going to play with this Profusion Neons palette right here, and we're also going to play with some eyeshadow singles. I have the Shroud Cosmetics Creepy Cute palette right here, and these are 4 Sugar Pill single eyeshadows. Night 2 of Fyter Fest started out very strong with the match that I was personally anticipating quite a bit, and that was the match between Chris Jericho and Shawn Spears. This is match number 1 in the series of 5 labors of Jericho. The stipulation for this match was that Shawn Spears can use a chair or chairs if he wishes against Chris Jericho, and Chris cannot use a chair or any weapon for that matter in this match. We were also joined by MJF on commentary, which was very fun. We don't get MJF on commentary a lot, and this should be a more frequent occurrence considering he doesn't get to wrestle most of the time. This match had a lot of really fun moments. I didn't know what to expect because I don't think much of Shawn Spears. He's now, in my opinion, really starting to, I guess, get his shine and make himself a little more noticeable, at least to me. Chris Jericho, I always expect the best and nothing but the best from him, so I think he can go toe-to-toe pretty much with anybody. And that was the case here, so I don't know if it was Shawn Spears or Chris, but things worked out. Shawn Spears was dominating at one point the majority of the match, especially towards the midpoint, and Jericho finally got his comeuppance when he got to put Shawn in the walls of Jericho. Now, Shawn was tapping, but Tully Blanchard had accompanied Shawn Spears to the ring, and he had Aubrey Edwards distracted, so she couldn't see that this motherfucker was tapping out. And I was just like, it was so frustrating. But Sammy Guevara came to sort of save the day, but not really. He got Tully off the ropes and they had a little exchange, and Aubrey Edwards was able to get back to the match. But at this point, it seemed a little too late because Shawn Spears had grabbed a chair and he was about to smack Jericho in the face. Luckily, or not so luckily, Shawn Spears did miss to hit Jericho in the face with a chair, but Shawn did put Jericho in the C4, and I thought the match was over. But Jericho kicked out, and just as I thought that things were really about to be over when Shawn set up Jericho for the C4 once again, this time with the chair on top of Jericho's back, he looked like he was about to toss him. Jericho slipped off, then he pushed Shawn Spears into one of the 4 corners which had a chair in it. Shawn hit his head, it fell back, Jericho got the 1, 2, 3, and that was it. So it was a nice, quick, and entertaining match with just the right amount of highs and lows. I really enjoyed it. The commentary from MJF was great, but we weren't done just yet. As Jericho was about to walk out of the ring and go to the back, MJF grabbed the mic and announced the second labor of Jericho for next week, and that being the no disqualification match against Nick Gage. Now, MJF really set this up. He was like, this guy's a maniac, he's robbed people, he stabbed somebody in the jugular. Like, this man has some serious issues. I've never personally heard of Nick Gage. I'm definitely going to give him a Google after tonight, but I was just not expecting all of that, and you know a man is truly demented when he walks out with a pizza cutter and he's just like everywhere with it. So a little nervous for Jericho, but very intrigued about the second labor of Jericho match next week at Fight of the Fallen. Next, we got to hear from God's favorite champion, Miro, and he announced that he's looking for an opponent for the TNT champion in about 2 weeks, I believe, at AEW Homecoming in Jacksonville. So I'm very excited. Miro has been keeping me very entertained these last couple of weeks, so good job, my man. As a fellow Bulgarian, I salute you. Our following match was between Doc Gallows and Frankie Kazarian. I have no idea what the point of this match was, of course, besides it being there, but from a feud perspective, there's some sort of kerfuffle, I don't know if I'm using that word correctly, but there's some sort of situation between the Good Brothers and Frankie Kazarian, which wasn't bad. It had its exciting moments. Doc Gallows did walk away the winner after some interference from Anderson. Now, following the match, the rest of the Elite joined Gallows and Anderson in the ring, and basically They went off on some spiel about Frankie Kazarian, I guess at some point might have called himself the Elite Hunter, and now the Elite Hunter is being the Elite Hunted. That was a statement uttered by Kenny Omega along with Don Callis and the rest of the Elite, but that is a feud and a match that happened, and that's something I'm personally invested in. Next, we saw Brian Cage backstage with Dasha Gonzalez, and they ended up watching a small footage of Ricky Starks and the rest of Team Taz discussing Ricky Starks' recent win over Brian Cage from last week for the FTW Championship, and announcing that they will be doing a championship celebration for Ricky next week at Fight of the Fallen. And after watching the footage together, Brian Cage told Dasha Gonzalez that he likes celebrations, so that's gonna be a fun, entertaining segment. I'm kind of intrigued and excited for that one quite a bit. Our next match was between Wheeler Yuta and Darby Allin. Wheeler Yuta was being accompanied by Orange Cassidy, and Darby Allin was of course accompanied by Sting. I still don't know anything about Wheeler Yuta, so this match didn't let me know anything more besides that he's a good wrestler, a great talent, so we'll see how his character develops. Darby, of course, pulled in with a victory over Utah, utilizing a coffin drop, even though I don't know how that man was standing up after all the coffin drops he did on top of all kinds of shit from the coffin match last week. I mean, he was thrown around like a rag doll by Ethan Page, so somehow bandaged up and bruised, he made it through and pulled in a victory. It was a very short match, so that was that. Oh, I actually forgot to mention that once the match was over, Blade, who had a match tonight with Orange Cassidy, attacked Orange Cassidy from the back, and he banged him up pretty bad to the point where I wasn't really sure if they were gonna actually get to wrestle later on in the night. Following that, we had the promo for the Texas Death Match later on in the main event tonight between Lance Archer and Jon Moxley. I had not seen the first death match between the two, so getting to see the couple of clips that they showed in this promo was nice, but once again, that is my fault for not having enough time to actually seek out and watch this really awesome and cool match. But luckily, I got a sweet taste of it later on tonight in the main event, which we'll discuss later. Next, we had our first of two championship matches tonight, and this was for the AEW Women's Championship. We had Britt Baker defending against Nyla Rose. Now, if you guys remember from last week, I'm not too keen on this match at all. And them walking into it, I still wasn't keen on it. And judging by the fans' reaction, it seems like everybody had made up their mind. Everybody in Dallas was rooting for Britt Baker, which is really cool and all that. However, we need to have, I feel like, more of an established heel in face situation, and Britt is an amazing heel. I think Nyla is a very intimidating heel as well, but two heels in a match against each other just do not make it exciting for me personally. So from that aspect, if we're looking at a storyline and character type of situation, it wasn't the most exciting. However, from a wrestling standpoint, I think the ladies did an awesome job. There was a great amount of back and forth action between the two. The match started off a little bit slow. Surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of interference from Rebel, and Vicky did interfere. Did she? Oh, I don't think there was significant interference from Vicky. She might have distracted the referee once or twice, but that was about it. So, like I said, I thought it was a pretty entertaining match, but I didn't have anybody to root for. So when I'm watching a wrestling match and there's no one that I'm kind of behind, after a while my attention kind of ceases to be there. That was not the case here with this match, but from that aspect, it was lackluster. Britt, of course, retained. She put in the lockjaw on Nyla Rose, and Nyla tapped. There actually was a funny moment right towards the end before Nyla's tap out where Britt grabbed the title and threw it at Nyla to make it seem like Nyla had hit her with the title. But then she didn't do it fast enough, so Britt got up, and then Nyla threw her the title, made it seem like Britt had hit her when the ref turned around, so that was a cute little exchange. The match was entertaining, but at this point, make Britt Baker a face. I don't know how well that would work. Oh, my earring just fell. Maybe that's a controversial opinion, maybe that's why it fell. But the reaction that she gets from the fans and the crowd and the cheers that she gets make no sense to be directed, at least in my opinion, towards a heel. So there needs to be some sort of a story arc where Britt kind of redeems herself in that way. Now, it's hard to be an entertaining face, and I do remember her being a boring face at some point. So I'm definitely hoping that she can either work that in to her advantage and transition her character, or do something so despicable and vile that she is able to get under the fan's skin once again and be a heel. But I don't like where she's standing right now as champion in the roster from a character and storyline perspective specifically. Otherwise, I definitely think she's highly deserving of being champion. She is extremely talented, and her promos are some of the best ones every week, man or woman. Next, we had Tony Schiavone working overtime once again, but this time he was live in the ring and he made the announcement of the arrival of Andrade El Idolo, and Andrade came into the ring and proceeded to let us know that he has a fun and exciting surprise for all of us. He announced the arrival of none other than Chavo Guerrero. Yes, that's right, the Chavo Guerrero on AEW. He will be Andrade El Idolo's new executive consultant, whatever the fuck that is supposed to mean. But I'm just excited that we're gonna have more of the Guerrero presence on AEW. We already have Vicky, we have Chavo, so it was very fun to see Chavo get in the ring. Everybody was chanting his name, and it was really cute because he was like, you guys still remember me, you don't forget. But I guess Dallas doesn't forget. I'm glad they did this in Texas. No better place to do it than the Guerrero stomping ground. However, once all of the warm welcome for Chavo was over, Andrade proceeded to once again call out the Death Triangle. They came out and basically they were like, dude, what the fuck do you want? And Andrade made it known that he would like Penta El Zero Miedo and Rey Fenix to join him and basically be a part of, I guess, like his stable or work for him or something. And both Penta and Phoenix made it very, very clear that that's not going to be the case. And Andrade had very much so his ego hurt. And he asked, like, why the fuck are you going to work for Pac, but you don't want to work for Andrade? You know, like, we're, you know, we speak Spanish. Let's do it for the raza. Let's do it for our people. So that was funny. But in both English and in Spanish, they told him several times no. And Pac grabbed the mic and he's like, dude, like, you got it all twisted. We are a family here. Nobody's working for anybody. So whatever you think is going to happen is not going to happen. So Death Triangle ran up on Andrade in the ring, but nobody connected or anything. Andrade ran off. So this is going to continue. I don't know if we're going to have some sort of a tag team match and we're going to get to see Chavo wrestle again. I don't know. But I would like to see Andrade wrestle, so maybe we'll have some sort of a match next week between Andrade and one of the members of the Death Triangle. I don't know, but I'm staying tuned for that one. Next, we proceeded to see a clip of the Hardy family office attacking Marco Stunt. And I don't know if this was from earlier in the day, but it certainly wasn't from earlier in the show. So after Marco Stunt was attacked, Christian and the rest of Jurassic Express came to try and save the day. But of course they were pissed about that. So then we cut to Christian backstage throwing out the proposal for a match at Fight the Fallen next week. Christian and Jurassic Express to face off against Private Party and Angelico and teach them a lesson that they don't need to attack number one, a little person such as Marco Stunt, because, I mean, at least pick on somebody your own size. And number two, like, you know, there's strength and safety in numbers. So we got that confirmed that it is going to happen next week at Fight of the Fallen. I think this is going to be a fun match. I like Jurassic Express, love seeing Christian. You all know how I feel about Angelico, not my cup of tea, but I like Private Party, so pretty much we have about 80% to 90% of like a really great setup for a match. So I'm there. Our second to last match of the night was between Orange Cassidy and The Blade. Now, after that attack from The Blade earlier, we weren't sure, or at least I wasn't sure if Orange Cassidy was going to make it, but he did. The Bunny and The Blade came out and they thought they were going to get an easy victory, but lo and behold, Orange Cassidy ended up sneaking up behind once they made their entrance and they started going back and forth. It was a good little match. It was nice and short. Butcher Blade and the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy have had their issues in the past, so I wasn't too excited for this match. For me, it was more of like a time filler, but it was a good time filler in my opinion. So we'll see what continues on from this week forward. Towards the end, in the final moments, the Bunny ended up handing Blade a pair of brass knucks, and I thought that that was it. The Blade was gonna hit Orange Cassidy in the head and it was all gonna be over, but that was not the case. Orange Cassidy was able to get the brass knuckles away from the Blade and deliver an orange punch and beat him for the 1, 2, 3. So once again, cute little match, nice, short and sweet. And now it's time for the best part, the main event. The IWGP United States title, Moxley defending against Lance Archer. So this match was a lot more violent than I was personally expecting. I thought after last week maybe AEW would kind of dial it back a little bit, but they didn't. My biggest complaint, I would say, overall with the match before I start getting further into it was the timing. If we had cut the match between The Blade and Orange Cassidy, we would have had an appropriate amount of time to air the match between Archer and Moxley, because personally, from my broadcast and where I was watching the show, the match ended up being cut off and I did not get to watch the ending at all, which really pissed me off. Like, TBS literally started airing inside whatever the fuck was next. So I actually had to go online and find a clip to see how the match ended. So that pissed me off. Might have been more of a personal problem, but it seems like even on my DVR from the recording that them running over the time was a big issue, because at the end of a 2-hour show, they literally had about 5 minutes, and then they probably talked on another 8 minutes, which, again, for me, I did not get to see. But the match started off with a bang. We immediately started going in with some kendo sticks, the steel steps. At one point, right in the beginning, they went out into the crowd, and Lance Archer threw a fan at Moxley. So that was hilarious. I don't know if that fan was aware that that was going to happen, but a lot of really great, really fun moments. Now, one of the biggest kind of shifts in the first half of the match was when Lance Archer lifted up the mats that are surrounding the ring and exposed the concrete, and he was going to try to do some sort of a suplex to Moxley, but Moxley reversed it and did a paradigm shift on Archer, busting him open. Now, from that point forward, Moxley dominated most of the match up until the very end, because obviously Archer had a lot of blood in his eyes, like quite a bit, and Moxley only kept exacerbating the problem when he had a fork that he pulled out of nowhere and just started stabbing him in the forehead with it. Very, very brutal, and it looked like it hurt like a bitch. So in the process of stabbing Archer with the fork, he was setting up a lot of things outside of the ring. We had some tables, he got some trash can lids, we had a barbed wire covered baseball bat. But just as Moxley was trying to position Archer to have him go through the tables and through the barbed wire bat for a paradigm shift, that's when Archer pulled out the fork and started stabbing Moxley with it. And Moxley kind of lost control from there. Archer was able to grab him, choke slam him through the tables, and then Moxley was not able to answer the 10 count. Therefore, Lance Archer became the new IWGP World United States Champion. That the name of that championship title always confuses me. So overall, it was a really, really cool match, but the lack of time that the guys are provided did not sit well with me. So if anything, that should have knocked some points off for the match, but I can't do that to AEW. And for putting together a great first and second night of Fyter Fest was awesome. Personally, this is yet another totally awesome rated episode. Once again, to refresh your memory, I rate each episode of AEW Dynamite based on terrible, meh, average, totally cool or awesome, and legendary. So this is right up there. I really had a lot of fun with these 2 episodes, and I'm very excited for all the matches that we have coming up next week for Fight of the Fallen, and the week after Fight of the Fallen for AEW Homecoming. But what did you guys think of this episode of Dynamite? What was your most favorite match? What was your least favorite match? What did you think of my eyeshadow look? Let me zoom you in for a second. I don't know how I feel about the lip combo, but she's staying because I'm too lazy to change her. But I like the little glitter cut crease situation moment. And yes, I have yet to wax my face. Don't judge me. I haven't had the time. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next video.